Okay, in this video, I want to kind of clarify a few things about the new centerline uh, and centermark tools that's in the current version of AutoCAD. I have corrected the templates uh, to make this a little easier, a little better for you. But I wanted to show you and explain how this thing works. I've already got a circle and some rectangles drawn, and I use the tool to apply these. So let's look at properties. And you can see it created it on my center layer because that was my active layer at the time, but it by default used the center 2 line type. And then for the size here, this cross size, what this means is 0.1 times the diameter of the circle and 0.05 times the diameter of the circle. Well, that's not necessarily how we want it. The extension is okay. This is how far it extends outside the object. So in with a new, when you create a new drawing from the new template, these will be set correctly for you. If you're using an existing drawing that you've downloaded or a brand new drawing from the ACAD template, you're going to have to make some changes here. And so one way to do it is just go in here in properties and make those changes in your properties. And here you can put in the size you want, which in this case be 0.12 or 0.125. The gap size should be 0.06, a 16th of an inch. Okay, and now we can look at it. Now, these dashes right here are based on the line type scale, okay, of our line. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to look at it here in paper space, and we'll go ahead and set our scale up. So you can see my plus size there in the middle. I may need to adjust that, so let me check. Okay, so I need to line type scale this down by 0.25. But if I look at this, that's an eighth of an inch long, so the plus size is okay. If I were to scale this at a 1:2 scale, then I would have to adjust the plus size, and I would do that here. Now my line type scale, oh, I got no selection. I can line type scale that times 0.5. Set that back. And you can see it did not change the cross in the middle, it just changed the spacing on the line types across here. All right. And this tool works very much the same way, just the center line. You can change the line type here. And all it gets is the extensions and the line type. Now you would have to do a line type scale on that based on your size. Okay, now let's look at a metric drawing. If you use this tool in a metric drawing, you see the sizes are the same. It's still saying 0.12 beyond the circle. That's 0.12 of a millimeter. So that is not going to work. So we'd want that to be 3. You know, 3.2 to be exact, but 3 would be pretty close. And you can see how it extends it out there. Now the line type that is pulling in is still that center 2. So we change it back to a center. Okay, so that's why things are looking kind of weird. Now, to fix this, just so you'll know, in your template, if you have a template that you're using that's not already fixed, here's what you would do to change the layer. You just use command line prompts because there's not a dimension style per se. For this. Sorry, I had a pause there. I was looking at something like something didn't look right. So I was looking at something. So on the command line, we start with center L line type. And here you can type in which line type you want, or we will just say by layer. So we're going to type by layer. Okay. Now, to make it always go to the current layer, center layer is the command, and use current. That's what we want. So the period or the dot is the same thing for use current. Or you could specify which layer you want it to always draw on, but I find it best just to leave that as by layer. Now the gap, the crossing, that is center, cross, gap, and size. We'll do size first. So in this case, we want to say 0.12 for 1/8 of an inch. Now we'll do center, cross, gap, and that should be 0.06. All right, and so now I'll come back and do this again. And now we'll take that and we'll go to properties, and you can see now it's got all of these settings already made for me, which is the way that they in our case, this is how they should be. Now you still have to do a line type scale based on paper space, and you may have to adjust the size of the crossing there in the middle based on your scale of in paper space. And so you would just do that here in the properties. You would just adjust it here. Depends on what you're scaling. You may have to make it twice as big. It just all depends on what scale you're working with over here to get it to the right size. All right, and I'll post a document up with these steps on it and the settings that you would use for inches and metric so that you can see that. Hope this helps.